The dancing's over and I was just getting funky with it. Hey, welcome to Caching in the Northwest. You know, this is the podcast from the birthplace of geocaching right here in the great Pacific Northwest. Now, it's Thursday at 9 p.m. Pacific, and they call me Chris of the Northwest. And we're going to talk about geocaches and geocachers from here and all around the globe. So while you're learning to breakdance like the Aussies, we'll be caching in the Northwest.
Yeah, it's breaking, don't you know?
It's just breaking.
They don't consider the term, they don't like the term breakdancing. It's called breaking.
It was just broken.
Yeah.
Broken.
broken, gone, broken.
When did it become breaking over breakdancing?
I don't know. It was just breaking bad.
Yes. I believe it was broken so bad they're not going to do it.
Okay. Hey.
What?
Canada won a gold medal.
That's right.
So
Canada was very good. Don't get me wrong, very good. Some of them very good. But
is it really an Olympic sport?
It's questionable. It's going to be in the next summer.
I was going to say not anymore.
You know what? We'll take the gold. Thank you very much.
You
take it. Enjoy it, because like in a week it's going to be so tarnished it'll look like plastic anyway.
Ouch!
Isn't that what some of the medals have been doing? They've been not holding up well, I think.
Oh dear.
Anyway, enough about
chewing on them.
That's right. Enough about all that breaking stuff. Tonight we're talking about making stuff, because we're chatting with JustCarlo about his craft a cache geocaches and videos. So live audience, we know you've got thoughts, comments, stories about caches and crafts and all that stuff. So jump in the chat.
Now, be careful. We don't want all your thoughts. Just what's related to geocaching.
Yeah. Stay on topic.
Okay.
When has that ever happened in the chat?
Well, you know, you can have noble intentions anyway.
That's why we had to hire a chat lackey.
That's right.
Yeah, that works great.
Hey, wake up, chat lackey. All right. Oh, yeah. Chat lackey's got thoughts. All right. Well, you know, we can't jump into anything until we bring in our crafty Capuchin. Some say his memoir is a pop-up book. And others say next time you see him, ask him how much he loves the Oxford comma. All we know is he's called Len Monkey.
Oh, definitely on the Oxford comma. But I gotta say that autobiography I wrote scares me every time I open it. So,
yeah, right.
You don't know it's coming.
What a bad idea. What a bad idea.
Make a 3D movie out of that.
Oh, man. Monster Chiller Horror Theater. All right. Hey, you know what? Before we get going any further, because I really want to talk to Carlo, but a quick reminder that we appreciate the support of our patrons who help to keep this podcast coming each and every week. And a thanks to Land Sharks, our corporate Denali level sponsor. Hey, do you want to get anything that you've seen on geocaching.com that you've seen them promoting? Well, did you know Landsharks, LANDSHARKZ.ca is an official geocaching.com reseller. So go on and check it all out at landsharks.ca. And on that, while I'm on that topic, if you want to know more about supporting this here podcast, well, actually, you can click the Patreon link on the cachingnw.com website.
You got that right. And, folks, it's time for the glow. And, Carlo, do you know what people usually ask when I say it's time for the glow?
What is the glow?
I like this guy.
Nailed it.
Okay, you can stay.
Yeah. It was a quiz. We didn't prep you for this in advance, so I just want to let you know you passed. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
The glow is the.
As it turns out, he was actually just asking a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, really, guys, what is the glow?
What is the glow? I don't know what it is. It's the geocaching log of the week. So whether you wrote it or whether you read it, we want to hear about it because great logs simply make geocaching better. Now you can send an email. That's what everybody does. That's the old boring way. The new hot way is to call in to 253-693-TFTC and show us how you glow. So if you want to be into the cool crowd, call in.
I gave a bonus point to JustCarlo.
Ooh,
There
wait.
you go.
Anybody
Alright.
can give a bonus point?
Apparently,
It's like a favorite point.
it's where the points are made up, and
Yeah.
Yeah, the game doesn't matter.
that's right.
The podcast doesn't matter.
But I'm winning, right?
Yeah, we
Yes.
don't have points.
like
You're
Charlie
the
Sheen.
only one. You have infinitely more points than we do.
That's right. All right. Well, let's see. The glow for the night. Limax sent this one in. Found a glow cache. No, he didn't find a glow. He glowed a cache. He made a cache glow. He found a cache called Bird by Bird. That's GC83 Tango 7 Delta. And it's apparently a maze or something from what I gather from this. He says, I found this one with Piffle Bear and the Artful Fletcher. No, it's Artful Fetcher. While visiting the marsh today, we found the cache right toward the end of the maze, so we had it in hand quickly. However, we wanted to experience the maze, so we put it back at the top without signing it. That's when the fun began. The Artful Fetcher did most of the work, but we got stuck at the yellow-rumped warbler, as one does, for quite a long time. Eventually, it worked itself around that corner, and most of the rest of the maze went smoothly. Thanks for a fun field puzzle.
Nice.
Sounds fun.
Yeah,
You just got to be careful about certain yellow parted birds.
the yellow-rumped warbler.
Yes.
They're up to no good.
I like that.
Now, we have feedback from the YouTubes, from all of the tubes.
Okay.
This one comes from our now very good friend, Saiwai. From pronunciations and with all the pronunciations and gender bias, you actually pronounced Saiwai, my geo name, correctly. It rhymes with Wi-Fi, and it comes from my daughter's name. Thanks for all the giggles enjoying your podcast. And
Nice.
the event pick in question from New Mexico was on the YouTube vid last week. So go check out the YouTube there and see what you can see.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well,
I
that's
wanna-
pretty amazing. We rarely pronounce somebody's name correctly.
I
so
mangle them all the time.
Yes.
And then beg for forgiveness.
I think we were probably intentionally trying to get it wrong, and that's what happened.
Yeah, right. I was thinking of, the Sci-Fi Channel,
Yes, I recall this
There you
conversation.
go.
and I hate when they went to all the Y's instead of the I's, but
Apparently it works.
yeah, yes.
I was
Anyway,
just thinking of Siwi. Can you recommend a Westerwand?
the voice recognition on that thing's terrible.
Terrible. All right, back to topic.
But tonight, we're going to talk not about terrible things. We're going to talk about great things, crafting a cache. Now,
Mhm.
use the hashtag craft in the chat to ask any question you want, and we'll force Carlo to answer it. Or, well, no, I think that's going to be fun. We'll do this. And then you can also use hashtag Fatas to bring up anything you want for the after show, and we may make Carlo read it. So, Carlo, take it away.
Yeah.
No, actually, not yet.
And now it's time for the news.
There you go. You're gonna regret that, Chris.
He actually did take it away. Okay.
Uh-huh. All right, it is time for the news. Thank you, Carlo. Thanks for that introduction, Carlo. Hey, folks, did you know that you can? And this news came out a little while ago. It's not super hot off the presses, but I saw the headline come out, and I never read up on it, but I thought, oh, this sounds interesting. So we're reading this for my own personal interest, and if you already know about this, too bad. You have to listen to it again. Introducing self-service builder credits for Adventure Labber. Have you ever wanted to create an adventure but didn't have a credit? Well, the wait is over. On the 23rd of July, 2024, HQ released a new self-service portal for credit distribution, enabling premium members, note premium members, to receive Adventure Builder credits through the Adventure Labber app. So the criteria to qualify for a credit: One must have, as we've said, an active premium membership. You must have no available builder credits. So if you've already got a credit sitting in your account you haven't used, go on and put out another adventure lab. Make sure that you put what stops, make them sequential, put them on top of places people already have stops, and ask questions.
I'm just going to stop you right there.
Yeah.
These are wonderful tips for another show, not this one.
Fair enough. All right.
Hey, put dear geocache guy away.
Yeah, exactly.
You must have no unpublished adventures. I guess that's the same thing as saying no unavailable credits. I guess that means no credit that's like halfway used. You just haven't put the adventure lab out. And you must have passed the eligibility date.
Ooh,
there's an asterisk. I love asterisks. It says if a creator meets the above criteria, they can claim a credit and start creating their new adventure right away. So the asterisks here about passing eligibility date, it's determined by how recently a creator received a credit. Creators are eligible for a new credit every 90 days. All right. So I guess they could have just said, and wait 90 days after you use your last credit. But there you go. 90 days in between.
well, it doesn't sound as good. You put the asterisk there and you go, oh well, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. And it doesn't fit in the nice short bullet point list.
There you go. You can access this portal in app under profile and then how to create an adventure. And then it'll be there apparently. So go for it. Have fun.
So there's a 90-day waiting period for any new adventure labs.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Got it. One more bit of news.
Yes.
Saturday.
Thousands of tons of mud.
Could be. We want you to get out into that mud. It's International Geocaching Day. It's one day only. You're not getting the whole weekend. You're not getting a week. You get one day. Go out and get caching in the Northwest. I said it. I threw it in there.
Way to go.
So don't forget to find your cache this weekend. Well,
I'll find at least one.
This Saturdays.
They're not trying to break a record this year, I guess.
And find more than one?
That was last year, right?
Mhm.
The what was the number they were trying to hit? Anybody remember?
Oh, yes.
Anyways,
no, I don't remember.
yeah. We can go back and look a year ago.
1 billion geocachers.
Yes, there you go.
Oh, yes. And our outer space folk are about halfway, about half the fuel they need to get home. The poorly planning outer space folk.
Yeah.
As we discussed last week. Yes. Oh, they're just so excited. They forgot. One thing we didn't forget is Carlo. Carlo, welcome to the other side of the podcast. And now you know how disorganized we really are. But we'd like to get to know you, kind of like you got to know us. So can you share with us how you discovered the game of geocaching? And I'm gonna guess where your geocaching name comes from, but you need to specify that just to be clear.
Well, I'll start with the name. So my geocaching name, of course, is JustCarlo. And my real name is Carlo. And throughout my life, people would call me Carlos. So that was just like a regular thing that happened all the time. And I would always just be correcting people and saying, actually, it's just Carlo. And it kind of just stuck. And so whenever I sign up for something new, there's either that or like a completely anonymous name. But
yeah.
So when I signed up for geocaching, I went, well, let's see if this is available. And it was. So there you go. And it's funny because and generally I am like usually a solo cacher, not necessarily by choice, but it just sounds like I go out by myself geocaching. It's just Carlo. And
Carlo.
Yeah. Nobody wants to cache with that guy.
Well, I think that's like one of the other supporters, that used to be finding our ways all the time. And no, just finding our way.
Yeah.
No, okay. That was dumb. Okay.
But to answer the rest of the question, when I discovered geocaching, it was around 2020 or so. My sister-in-law, who is a teacher, wanted to start it with her kids. And so she went out, she got a used GPS unit on Facebook Marketplace. and they tried it out for a few months, and then it never really stuck with them. And then we were all in the pandemic, and again, it was during that time where we were like, well, we very quickly ran out of things to do in our family.
Yes. Did all the puzzles. There's
We
no
did
more
everything.
jigsaw
Yeah, we
puzzles.
were like,
Now what
oh
do we
man,
do?
we just burned through all of our ideas, and then we're like, well, let's try this geocaching thing, because we could go outside, and it seems like it's safe to socially distance with from people, and we were taking this time as well to just like discover places that we had never been to in the province. And we have young kids, so we were trying to discover new playgrounds wherever we went, and that was kind of like a mission of ours, was like, well, what playground are we going to go to now, after they open them up again. And I had downloaded the app, and we were in Lions Park in Coquitlam, and there was a cache near the playground, and we're like, let's go see if it's there. And that was our first cache that we ever found. It was called O Flower of Scotland, and it was just sitting on top of a log. And it's since been archived, but I think we approached this big log, and there it was, just sitting on there. And we're like, oh, that was easy. And I think what had happened is that somebody must have found it, maybe a non-cacher, and just placed it there. And we were our very first one. We're like, hey, we got to follow the rules, guys. We got to leave it like right on top of this log, exactly how we found it.
How you found it? Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's an advantage to that, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of, in a nutshell, how we discovered geocaching, was through a family member.
Nice.
Cool.
UDAC says, oh, COVID cacher.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. COVID cacher. It's only been 3 years.
To
I'm
which
a baby cacher.
GSM times 2 says, it's nice to see some COVID cachers that became good cachers.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm glad you found that every cache is always just sitting out in the open like that. So,
They're just so easy to find.
Yeah.
You can see them,
and
miles
away.
off.
Yeah.
and I'm sure we'll find that when you went to then create caches, that's how you created them, because you never forget your first, right?
Yeah. We just throw them, right? You just throw them in a general direction, right?
Oh, yeah, that's how I do it. But I thinking you did a little more than just that, because recently you were featured in the geocaching.com blog, and that's quite an honor. How'd you come about being featured there?
Well, as some of you know, I have a YouTube channel, and I was very inspired by a lot of local cachers, Land Monkey and Keats here locally. And I started making YouTube videos about 2 years ago. And this year I had a New Year's resolution. I think we were, it was actually probably on the show around the beginning of the year, when we were talking about like what are some of the kind of geocaching resolutions. And I wanted to put out more hides. That was kind of a goal of mine. And when Geocaching HQ put out these themes, I was like, oh, the timing was perfect, and it kind of just works for me. And so I had made 3 Craft the Cache videos based off of the themes, and I guess somebody at HQ got wind of that, and they reached out to me. So it was Mackenzie from their content creation team had reached out to me in an email saying that they saw some of the Craft the Cache videos that I've been making, and they liked what they saw, and if they were wondering if I was interested in being interviewed. And yeah, after kind of the initial like, what? And I was like, yeah, sure, I'd love to be. Yeah. So that's really kind of how they reached out to me, was just through an email.
It's very, very cool. And it was a great article. If folks haven't seen it, just do a search on the geocaching blog for JustCarlo, and it should come up, unless
Or
they've
you can go
archived
to
it.
this website.
Well, that's for his YouTube channel, but I'm saying if you want to read the article.
Oh, right.
Now that article, it did feature the Craft to Cache series, as you said, which I must say it's fantastic, and it was very original content, Carlo. I've been very much enjoying watching those. So I think you maybe touched on a little bit, but what gave you the idea to create specifically this video series and the manner in which you're rolling them out?
Yeah, so I guess I kind of jumped the gun on that one a little bit, but yeah, I
No
do.
worries.
I wanted to make more hides, and I think uh, that's the aspect of geocaching that I think I get really excited about is um, creating experiences for other people. You know, I think like I've had such good experiences finding really creative, really well made geocaches that it's always such a joy to be able to find you know, those well built like gadget caches or something that takes you somewhere. And you know, we all have those experiences, as the audience here on the show knows. And I also just really got into wanting to create that experience for other people as well. So wanting
Nice.
to make more geocaches was a big thing. Wanting to hide more, and it just tied in really well to making videos and making content. You know, I think sometimes, um, and it also kind of gave me like a monthly goal to create at least one video a month. You know, and I thought that was like kind of doable because um, I have a very erratic like publishing schedule when it comes to the YouTubes. But even then, I'm way behind on you know on putting out those craft to cash videos as well. I kind of really missed the monthly mark on those ones as well. But yeah.
It's tough. I mean,
Mhm.
you know, you got a life as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got a couple of kids and
Mhm.
you know, a busy life, and then you know, I think that's the other thing is right. It's the quality level, right? Like there's a very
Mhm.
high level of quality to your YouTube videos that you put out, and I got to think that that's part of why the schedule seems irregular, is because you're wanting to make sure that the quality is there before you hit go.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah. Well. Oh, yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Definitely. I got to a point where I was, you know, I'd watched some other YouTube videos who, from other creators who were kind of getting away from like this weekly or monthly or whatever kind of schedule, and they were like, "Well, we're just going to publish when we feel like it's ready." And I was kind of in between that because I was like, I really want to put out more. I have a lot of things that I want to share, but at the same time, I want to put out something that I put a little bit more thought into. And I'm still kind of doing a bit of a mix where, um, you know, I still have a lot of footage of just finding geocaches, you know, and that's still stuff that I want to produce. But the Craft to Cache series are they're a lot more involved. There's a lot more scripting and shooting B-roll and finding music. There's a lot more that's involved in putting together one of those videos than my experience in putting together one of me going out and finding a geocache. So,
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
you've got some fans on this show because Cache Canada says congrats for the article on geocaching.com.
thank
Uh,
you.
Keith says gadget caches are some of the best.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Komakino's been subscribed for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Early adopter.
She
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
sometimes too subscribed.
Oh, there you go.
Awesome.
So
Very good.
yeah, you seem to be hitting a niche there in the geocaching community.
And
Now,
we
Yeah,
talked,
I mean, there's a lot of inspiration within this chat as well. So,
there's some great folks in there. I was gonna say, speaking of the erratic schedule, I think that's what he's referring to here.
mhm,
Keats 94 says I can relate to that. So
yeah.
yeah.
And Keats has been on a great like weekly schedule. So, yeah, thumbs up. Thumbs up. That's been amazing to watch.
him and his swallowtail jig. So, is there anything else you can tell us about the process of making the craft cache videos, the geocaches themselves, or have you covered that pretty well?
Well, just probably a few more things I could kind of say about it. So I don't know how familiar people are with watching them, but basically what I've kind of gotten into the flow of doing now with the videos is um, uh, I'll talk about the theme for a little bit. So in the intro, I'll talk about what the theme is, and then I'll lay out a little bit of a plan of what I plan to create. Um, and then kind of the second act, I guess you could say, is like the actual build of the cache, and then towards the end, it's kind of the wrap up, and then peppered throughout the actual build of it of the caches that I'm crafting, I'll throw in geocaches that I found that fit within that theme as well. So it kind of what I've internally kind of called like the studio shots of me, like the talking head kind of shot of me talking about the cache, and then the on the desk shot of building it, and then in between those I'll kind of cut away to a time where I found a geocache that fits within that theme. So that's given me like a chance to go back into some old footage that has never been published, which has been really great because sometimes it just sits on a hard drive. So I've been able to pull those up. Where it's becoming challenging is looking through my footage and going, oh, I don't have, like I've never found a space theme cache or whatever, that just comes to mind. Or I'm really worried for like the T5 theme ones and the extra large ones. I've found some large ones, but I have no space to make a large one. So I have an idea of what I'm going to do for that. Yeah, so I think that's kind of an overview of what a Craft the Cache video looks like. But the process behind it is, I usually kind of, I'll keep a notebook and I'll just ideate and I'll just think about different things that I want to create on the theme. So I usually have the ideas usually well enough in advance. But then it's the actual building that I'm worried about. That usually doesn't happen until much later. So I'll ideate on something. I'll find the materials that I need to craft it. If I haven't already, I'll go out and find geocaches that fit within that theme. And look through old footage and work within kind of the template that I've created for myself, which has made it a little bit easier.
That's an incredible amount of work just to put together one video, right? I mean, just from, getting the ideas, scouring through old footage can take hours to find what you're looking for.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But I'm sure you've indexed the metadata on every clip, right? So.
Don't we all?
Oh yeah, obviously.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have some kind of naming conventions, but they don't always stick. The other thing as well is that I'll have to find some B-roll usually, or I'll find some supporting imagery. A lot of the caches that I build are kind of pop culture based things, and so I'll have to find images from a movie or a comic book or something like that. I forget that I have to do that sometimes, and I look at a clip and it's just 5 minutes of me talking straight. I'm like, I should really insert something else in between here. So.
And Cache Canada throws in that video editing is not usually quick.
Yeah, I learned a long time ago that my kind of gauge is that for every minute of a final video is about an hour's worth of editing.
Yes.
Right.
Of just editing.
Not just editing and not even shooting.
Not getting the B-roll, not going out and finding a cache.
Yeah.
So, the fact that you're trying to put these out on a weekly basis, that alone is incredible. No, you do your own schedule. You've got young kids, family first.
Yeah.
And, if you can continue to make the incredible videos, yay for you, better for us, right?
Well, thank you. I mean, I know that I've talked to Llama Monkey about this. I have footage from Geo Woodstock when it was in Abbotsford that I haven't even put together yet. And that's 2 years ago. And I was thinking, oh, maybe, for the anniversary of Geo Woodstock, I'll put something out and look back and like, well, I still have, 3 or 4 other Craft the Cache videos to make. So that
well, and you never know, right? Like that's the thing is that you've got the archives. So who knows? You might just decide to put a video together about socializing in the geocaching community, right? Or something. And you're like, okay, I've got this, right? So, but yeah. And I mean, honestly, like some of the ideas, yeah, well, we're going to talk about some of your other ideas later. So hang on. I won't, I'll just be shush for now.
I'm going to ask this question from you, Dak.
Okay.
She asks, is Carlo a video editor or did he learn this on his own?
I'm primarily self-taught. Yeah, I think I'm at an age where I was video editing on like VHS tapes with 2 VCRs as in high school.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you for those who don't know, you would record something on a VHS recorder, and you plop it into two VCRs are plugged into your TV, so you're hitting record on one while you're playing off the other, and then I don't know, sometimes you have to kind of switch them around just to kind of cut in, and then every time you do that, you degrade the footage a little bit. And so that was
Yeah.
kind of my first experience with editing, just because we were in high school, and the teacher was like, we had good teachers that allowed us to create projects the way we wanted. And me and a couple of friends were like, let's shoot a video because this is something we're interested in. And it wasn't anything I ever pursued professionally, but it's always been something that I've been interested in. And then way back in, I want to say like 2006 or 7, when I got like my first MacBook and it came free with iMovie on there. It was just game over. I was making movies of anything. And it was at a time too where I didn't have like a camera, so I just walk around with my computer, shooting off of like
I love
the
it.
little camera. So
Built-in camera.
everything was slanted and crooked. So everything has just kind of been through experimentation, and now you can just learn everything on YouTube University. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
There was a time I did audio editing with a razor blade and tape with audio tape, but that's I'm old.
Wow. Yeah. Sometimes too.
Yeah.
Just, OMG, editing video with tape. Digital is wonderful.
It is. Yeah.
Cash Canada says, I edited trips to Disney World with the family, and that was enough for him. So too much fun. Now, I want to talk a minute about the build process. Okay. Because I admit I've been on a bit of a new tool binge lately. It's only to tackle my projects, is what I tell my wife. But what sort of tools are you using to create these wonderful caches?
I mean, nothing special. Whatever I have on hand, a couple of power tools, drills, some hand saws, some power saws. Anything that I have on hand. I haven't really had to build anything too involved yet. So everything has kind of been more on like kind of the crafty side versus like the big build side of things. So I'm a master with a glue gun, I guess. Although glue doesn't usually work very well for outdoor use. But whatever I have on hand, and I'm at the Dollarama like every week, looking for supplies, like cheap supplies that I can get. I hung out with Monkey once, and
I'm sorry.
Mrs. Monkey,
continue. Go ahead.
Mrs. Monkey was sharing how she was so concerned that in one of my videos I was like drilling through a log at my dining room table. Because we live in a 2-bedroom condo, and so I don't have like a workshop or a workspace. So and usually I wait for the kids to go to bed, or I'm working at home, or I have a day off and I'm shooting during the day while they're at school. So I was shooting for it was the episode on mushrooms, plants and mushrooms. And I created these geocaches that are bison tubes that are kind of hidden in a log, and there's a little digital flowers and a mushroom, like a Mario mushroom, hanging out of it. And I was drilling through this log. It was almost 1 in the morning, because that was the only time that I could shoot, because everyone is asleep and quiet. And so I just had to make sure I had like a thick enough mat to like not, that I would stop myself from going through our table. And eventually my wife did wake up, and then I had to go to our parking garage downstairs, which I probably should have done, right off, like from the beginning. But then the neighbors look at you, and then
sometimes it's better to have the neighbors look at you than the wife. I'm just saying. They look at you and go, "You're weird." But
I see in the chat that UDAC had said that in my most recent video, actually, I just published a video today in preparation for this. So my most recent one, I'm using a Cricut vinyl cutter.
Those are cool.
Yeah. So we've had that for a while. We're just kind of a crafting family, I guess.
Nice.
Cool.
I love it. Now, what has been your favorite cache in the series so far?
It would probably be the Hatchling Hideaway, and that was for the birdhouse themed geocaches. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate. I have had this birdhouse that was sitting in my house that was just waiting to be turned into a geocache. I'm sure like people have just empty containers hanging around their house waiting to be turned into a geocache. So I had this birdhouse that was sitting in my house for a while. And like right away, I was like, oh, birdhouse geocaches, great. I have a use for this thing. I could build something out of it. And if you haven't seen that one, so it's a multi-cache. The first stage is attached to an owl. And when you open up the bison tube that's attached to the owl, there's coordinates to get to the final, which is the birdhouse, and a series of numbers that allow you to find the combination for the lock for the birdhouse. And then when you find that second stage, you punch in the combination, and there's two little hatchlings in there. So the story behind it is that the owl she's so busy that she can't take care of her kids. She needs someone to go check in on them. So can you kind geocachers please go check in on her kids?
That's awesome. Very creative. And yeah, so that's one of your earlier Craft a Cache videos.
Yeah.
For the animals.
I think it was the second one, I think.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. But as I alluded to earlier, you have not just only made the Craft a Cache videos. You've made a bunch of other videos and had some other pretty creative ideas recently. What are some of the other fun creative projects you've made that people could enjoy?
Well, there was our collaboration. So I couldn't make it to Geo Woodstock this year down in Flagstaff, and I was really sad about it. People were like, "Oh, I'm sure it was fine if you miss it." But what I didn't tell people is that I actually had started planning to go. And then I had some work stuff that came up, and then I was like, well, maybe if I leave on the Friday, I could still make it to some events. And then it just got like, it wasn't worth it to go for just a couple of days. And so I'd gotten to a point where I had almost made like solid plans to go, and then I couldn't. So I had this idea to send a trackable in my place instead called JustCarlo Has FOMO, the fear of missing out. And it was great because Land Monkey was able to take it down for me, and we were able to kind of create our two sides of that story. And he, it was great because there's other geocachers who. So I should explain the concept of JustCarlo Has FOMO. So the trackable going in my place, and then that allows people to tell me how their experience was wherever that trackable has gone. So if they were in Flagstaff, they discover that trackable. Tell me how your experience was. But because I have FOMO, I don't want to hear how good your experience was. I want you to tell me that you had a terrible experience so that I don't miss out. So I don't feel like I missed anything. So if you go to that cache page for that trackable and you read the comments, it's things like, oh, the food was terrible and the weather was horrible, which really just means that the food was great and the weather was beautiful, right?
Yeah.
But they're all so nice to be able to accommodate my feelings. So that was a fun project to kind of work on. And then the other one that I think I had a lot of fun with was connected to the Craft a Cache series, kind of adjacent to it. There was a theme for the library hides, and I was waiting in my car. I was kind of staking out the first to find. And so I had my camera on where the geocache was positioned. And as soon as the person signed the log, I jumped out of my car to surprise them, to kind of freak them out a little bit. And I think it was just, it was just more fun for me. And I was like, oh, this might actually make like a good video. So let's see what we can do with that. So.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. That was pretty awesome. And it was a lot of fun to do the collab with you. I saw Keats made a comment earlier. He'd love to do a collab with you as well. And I mean,
I actually really would love to ride a train with Keats and just hang out on a train, and we'll go somewhere and we'll hang out and go do some geocaching.
This came up, and what came up is that you have not made it to HQ yet.
That's right. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think the idea of like, there's an amazing creative video creator community in the Pacific Northwest. I think we should all get together and take Carlo to HQ. There you go.
Yeah. Actually, Rylang, it's just Carlo.
Yeah, I was leaving that up. Yeah.
See, it happened.
Yeah.
There you go.
But Brylang's telling you not to do it. You'll get stuck on somewhere on a train with Keats.
Well, hopefully it's someplace that has a lot of caches.
Well, there you go.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, it's funny. Keats, there's a running joke because there was a while where any train he took had some sort of issue. But he seems to have passed his bad luck now. So he's making better adventures.
That was just his probationary period.
Yep. He says, let's do it. Let's take a train to Seattle. It'll be fine.
Everything's good. No problems.
Now that looks like a fun adventure. Like Keats did one recently of taking the train down south. That looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And he should play the violin.
And the fiddle. Yes, he should.
Fiddle.
Yeah.
The fiddle.
He should fiddle about.
Yeah.
There you go. The Amtrak Cascades runs from Vancouver to Seattle. So now you don't have an excuse.
There you go. And his trip to Everett was problem free, he says.
Amazing.
So while we're talking about challenges, because don't take that personally, Keats. Geocaching with young kids can bring along a whole unique set of challenges. And you've got your young boys in several of your videos. How do you keep them coming geocaching with you and having fun? Because I know my kids came along when I first started, and after a while they're like, again? We did that. Do we have to do it again?
Only worked for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that conversation with other cachers who've had kids who've grown and kind of either have grown out of the hobby, and the trend seems to be that, we started it because we thought our kids would be into it, and we ended up being the ones who are like really into it. My kids are at an age now where they don't really want to go, especially the older one. He's 10 going on 11, and he's kind of like, he's a little bit of a homebody as well. So it's like, I don't really want to go. But I figured out that if I give him a camera, if I let him film something and give him a job, usually he's into that. And our other one is a bit of a performer. So he likes to be in front of the camera. So one's behind the camera, and one likes to be in front. And we haven't really kind of figured out that in a formal way. But I find out that if I give them roles, and if we go out and find geocaches that I think they would be into, like Pokemon themed geocaches or something like that, although they're growing out of that too, apparently. But also recently was my birthday, and they were like, "Oh, we'll go with you because it's your birthday." And
Nice.
Yeah,
that was more out of guilt.
Yeah,
take what you can get.
Yeah,
ice cream. Yeah,
I get the same thing, so I take it.
Ice cream incentives or donut incentives.
Yes,
those work.
That works for me too. Yeah.
All you need is Timbits, and Landmonk, you'll go anywhere, even across the international border.
Follow the trail of Timbits.
Carlo, in all of this, taking your kids along, doing the filming, what's been your most memorable caching experience? Maybe it's without your kids. Maybe it's just Carlo alone.
Yeah. I would have to say it was probably Geo Woodstock here in Abbotsford. It's a Geo Woodstock XV33. Or do we say 18?
18. Yeah, that's good. That's easier.
Yeah, I think because that was like a whole. It wasn't just like a one-day thing. That was like months of lead up, and more so for
years.
For years for a lot of the volunteers. But I think it was the first. So I hadn't even been geocaching for a year when I decided I wanted to volunteer for it. And then, when you signed up to be a volunteer, you say, what do you want to help with? And I think I'd put down like, some creative things or something or other. And we got tasked to create the background murals for like the Instagram playground. And So I kind of felt like I just jumped right into it, you know.
You went into volunteering for geocaching with both feet, my friend. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, we held a painting party, which was a lot of fun, and a lot of work, but I think it was great. We had a great time. You know, people putting up paint onto these giant canvases, and I mentioned earlier that we have, you know, a small condo, and so I think they were 8 feet high or 9 feet high. Those murals, 8 feet high by 9 feet wide, and it was like just inches from our ceiling. So um yeah, it was nice to have our living room back after that. But it was a great experience. It was
Well,
amazing. It was an amazing experience.
and I got to point out, like Mrs. Monkey to this day still talks about that event, the painting party event. And I think if people aren't quite following what's going on, it's Carlo had those giant murals he just described set up as a paint by number. And the geocaching volunteers could come out and just, you know, paint in to the different spots. And you had a great turnout for that event.
Yeah, I think you know, we had talked in kind of the small group about we only had like a small group of like 5 or 6 volunteers for that particular section of Woodstock, and it kind of ended up being that, well, we have a little bit of time to paint these 2 big murals. So what is like the fastest way we can get paint on there? And it was to throw an event and to get a bunch of hands painting at the same time. So instead of 1 or 2 people trying to paint it. So yeah, so that was the idea. And we held that party like 2 weeks before Geo Woodstock. And then in the 2 weeks between the painting party and Geo Woodstock, I still had to put in a lot of finishing touches on the paintings. So that was a busy 2 weeks as well. So the whole Geo Woodstock experience was just like amazing. It was great.
Nice.
It was the best Geo Woodstock I ever attended.
We'll take the compliment. Any other memorable geocaching experiences, Carlo?
Yeah, you know, I went to the Maritime Mega last year, and I think I mentioned this on the show through the chat once as well, but we went to, there's an earth cache out there in Fredericton called Salome's, I can never pronounce it, Salome's Well, which is this historical watering hole that's been there for 100 years, you know. And so I'd interviewed Graham Nickerson, who helped put together this geo tour about Black history in Atlantic Canada. And he was like, you really got to see this one geocache. If there's only one that you get to see, you have to go see that one. And just hearing his experience with putting together that geo tour about Black history and going to that place where it was where the Black community got their water, you know, it was like a source of life for them. And to be able to kind of just be in the presence of that history was really humbling. It was a very humbling experience, and it was by far one of like my most profound geocaching experiences. So I can't
Very cool.
say enough about that. Yeah. I also had, I can't not talk about the Fraser Valley Cache Bash. The first one I participated in was Fraser Valley Cache Bash 5, which was 3 years ago. 3 years.
Yep.
And that was when I hid my first geocaches, was for the Fraser Valley Cache Bash.
Nice.
I had 4 planned. I have these big ambitions, you know. I had 4 hides planned and had no clue where I was going to hide them. So I was driving around a lot around the Fraser Valley trying to find a place to hide them. And 2 of them were too close to the river, and they got washed out like within 2 weeks of the event. And I'd really hoped that they were there to last to at least Joe Woodstock, but they didn't. I had to learn, you know. So now I don't hide anything near
the Fraser River.
Near the Fraser River, yeah.
No, and you know what? Good point. I see Gearhead is in the live chat, and he's one of our key organizers for the Fraser Valley Cache Bash. So thanks to Gearhead, who also puts out some pretty amazing
caches. Yeah, great influence in terms of Gearhead. I'm gonna have to get in touch with you soon. So be be on the lookout. I'll send you a message.
Awesome. Very cool. Hey, Carlo, so if you could, like, all constraints off, the world is your oyster. If you could create any kind of project at all, what do you think you might create?
Like geocaching related or
Sure, let's say geocaching.
Well, just keep it on topic, I guess. Yeah, I was thinking about, like, I have a lot of projects that I have in mind. I would love to create a multi that's based off of public art or a mural somewhere. I really like those kind of multi caches because it takes you to, work that somebody has crafted as well. Whether it's a mural or public art somewhere. I love that kind of thing, and so I'd love to try to find something that is connected to that. I have that Adventure Lab credit, so I have an Adventure Lab. I don't know if that's like exciting for people, but I do have an Adventure Lab that I've been thinking about. When I do get some downtime, I'll probably dedicate some time to doing that. And I think, like, I'm excited in this conversation to have collaborations with other creators. So it could be, if it's any project geocaching related, I'd love to collaborate with other content creators.
Yeah, Garrett says anytime.
Yeah.
And Carlo, just in this short time you've been on, I'm amazed with the people that say, "Oh, I want to work with him. I want to work with him. Yeah, I'll do this. We'll do this." And just, in the short time we've been on this video chat, you've had 3 or 4 offers to collaborate
in your spare time.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I appreciate that. It's funny because when I still consider myself very like a novice compared to a lot of people who've been caching for 10, 15 years, with tens of thousands of finds. And being in this community, I've had like a very welcoming experience in this community. So it's been great to be able to meet the people that I have and to want to do more with people in the community. So yeah.
I feel like a novice as well sometimes.
Me too.
Yeah, it's funny because when I started making videos because I kind of just wanted to share things with like my family and friends who are not geocachers and get them excited about it and try to share things that I've learned about geocaching or tips, which I realize when I go through my videos, I don't really share a lot of like tips really. But I think with the Craft a Cache series, it was also a part of like, let me just document my learning of how to put out a good geocache or what makes a good geocache. Because, who am I to say, like, I'm no authority on like, there's so many great geocaches out there that are so inspiring that we could really talk to a lot of folks about the same topic. And I'm just out there trying to just document like what I'm learning. So.
And doing a great job.
Oh, well, thank you.
Look at a GIF video someday, maybe.
Yes, yeah. Oh, that's actually, if I could work on any project at all, it would probably be a GIF video. I do have some ideas written down.
That just popped in my head. So,
yeah.
Well, I look forward to seeing what creations come out of your work later down the road. And I'm going to go check out your YouTube channel.
Great.
So if these people that want to collaborate with you or anybody else that just wants to reach out and get in touch with you, do you have a preferred method for that?
Through the geocaching messenger or messaging service there, that's fine as well. Or, you can comment on any one of my videos on YouTube and we can start a conversation that way as well. So at JustCarlo Geocaching. There it is.
It's amazing that voice recognition is so good. You just start speaking things and comments pop up.
And boom, there it is.
There you go. Awesome. All right.
Well, Carlo, without an S, thank you so much for joining us this evening. And folks, we hope you enjoyed this episode of Caching in the Northwest.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to take a moment not only to thank Carlo for joining us tonight, but to thank Land Sharks, our corporate Denali level sponsor. Land Sharks, LANDSHARKZ.ca is the outdoor adventure and geocaching store. Check them out online, and remember, they're shipping those online orders daily. We want to thank all of our faithful Denali level supporters. That's, of course, Land Sharks and Cool Cow Cachers, Cashly, and Hawaiian Melee. If you want to know more about supporting this show, click the Patreon link on the cashingnw.com website.
Like JustCarlo did.
Oh, I've heard of him. Cool.
I know that guy.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. People want to collaborate with him. We also want to thank B Pendragon.
And GSM times 2.
A guy I just talked to on Saturday, Wet Coaster.
Green Words.
The LG 9000.
And another guy I talked to on Saturday, the Camp Clan. Well, 2 people.
There you go. Dora Moore.
The Terrible Teas.
And another. No, I didn't talk to them on Saturday. Geocaches.
Sege Hoth.
J-Car.
CRS 98.
Team Noltex.
Genies.
Another person I talked to on Saturday, Railroad.
How about GeoNav Pro?
Butterfly Girl.
Another person that sent in Glow, Limax.
MNerf.
Seabeck Tribe.
Logwork.
Boomer 365.
BC Rock Crawler.
Skyhawker.
Trexer.
Mountain Bike.
You Talks to Rocks.
Whidbey Island Gal.
You, Dak.
MC3 Cats.
Gas Station Tuna.
Just finding our way.
Kitty Quest.
Kid Vegas 19.
Peach of Washington.
Ackerdoc.
Nervous Energies.
Subway Mark.
And Teus.
GeoBirder.
And Flagman.
I wonder if GeoBirder knows about the yellow-rumped warbler.
I'm sure they do.
Please call in and
Obviously.
let us know.
Oh, okay. So I think we've already talked the ways to get in contact with JustCarlo, and make sure you pronounce his name right, because otherwise he'll tell you JustCarlo.
It's just Carlo.
But folks, thanks for taking the time to listen to this episode of Caching in the Northwest. Your support helps keep the quality shows coming. So if you like the show, click the Patreon link on the cashingnw.com website. If you didn't like the show, let us know what you want us to talk about. But if you like the vibe, please subscribe wherever you get your podcast and leave us a review. The reviews are important because if you were in a restaurant, you would tip. If you were in a live audience, you would clap. But since you're on a podcast, leave us a free, fast, fabulous, fantastic 5-star review. And of course, you can always call us at 253-693-TFTC. Leave us a comment, ask a question, or help us craft a cache. Wow, that's not easy to get out when you think about it. Any time of the day or night. And of course, you can email us at feedback@cashingnw.com. Join us every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Pacific for a live show and even livelier chat. This show is produced by Chris Umfenauer, Jim Paulwoods, Jay Kennedy, and Brian Lang. It's licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Copyright 2024 by Chris Umfenauer. And folks, I ask you to stay tuned for
The After Show.
The After Show.
The After
The
Show.
After Show.
We're in the After Show.
GeoBirder does know the yellow warbler.
Oh,
And Kitty Quest was greeted with a whisper at Cab. Yes,
that's appropriate.
it was. There were a lot of listeners to the podcast at Cache Across the Border.
Yeah, I was a little saddened I didn't get to mill around and speak to as many people as I would have liked to. But yeah, it was a really, really good turnout.
I think I hadn't met Railroad before, and I sat down next to him and was talking for probably 5 minutes before, he mentioned his name. I was like, oh, I know you.
I know who you are. Yeah, I now have contacts.
There you go.
Exactly.
By the way,
So-
just for the rest of us,
Yeah.
there's a yellow-rumped warbler.
That's on the wing or breast. That's not
It's on the
Right.
rump too.
okay.
I think
I
you got
just-
like male versus female going on in the photos there too.
I'm not going to comment on location of the yellow. I'm just going to say that's a yellow-rumped warbler.
According to Google,
That's right.
and how can they be wrong?
I don't know.
Nobody questioned that. Okay. Anyway.
All
How do you know those images are real?
Ooh, AI.
Are birds real? Yes. What else have we got going on here?
Geobirder and yellow warbler are two geocachers I met in Toronto.
Oh, well, there you go.
There's a geocacher.
Called yellow warbler.
Yeah. Burbs aren't real.
Verbs, yes. Neither are verbs. Yes.
Well, let's see. Do we have anything for the after show? I see a Keats.
Okay.
Keats says this Sunday marks my
Saturday.
6 month. This Saturday, sometime this weekend, a day that ends with Y, marks my 6-month anniversary of weekly episodes. Time has flown by. Hoping to keep it up even when I'm in Africa next month. I'm all about collabs. Lion Monkey, JustCarlo. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, and hey, there's a few more people to collab with in the chat too. So you've got Cash Canada, you've got Komakino, GSM times 2. He's not in the Northwest, but I'm sure I'm probably missing somebody. So apologies, but
no worries.
There you go.
Iham says at the breakfast event, I ran into a couple that had just flown into Vancouver from Austria the day before.
Wow.
Fun.
Just for that event. That's how big.
Yeah, just for that event. It's one of the cool things about living near Vancouver is that it is a very popular summertime vacation destination for folks from around the world. So you really do get the opportunity to meet geocachers from everywhere. The only drawback is if they come in and they're going to sort of host their own meet and greet, they usually host it like right downtown Vancouver, and most of us don't want to go downtown Vancouver on the weekend.
Right.
So it's like, yeah. It's like going downtown Los Angeles on the weekend.
Yeah.
Like, do you really want to? I want to see these people, but maybe they can come out in the valley. So yes, very cool that they came out to the breakfast event.
There's another comment on the breakfast event, but let's talk about Seebeck Tribe, shall we?
Please.
Seebeck Tribe not only is driving across the entire country, and I don't know if it's multiple countries involved. We're talking, across the equator and all that. She's doing a lot of traveling this summer, but she's going back home. The WSGA OP chapter, that's obviously overpowered, or Olympic Peninsula, one of those two, is hosting an event at Ocean Shores this Saturday. That's GC Alpha Tango 6 Romeo 6.
Very cool. I'm honestly surprised she's back in the Olympic Peninsula area.
Just long enough to host an event and she's gone again, I'm sure.
Yeah, fantastic. That's awesome. What else you got?
Kitty Quest said it was nice to see folks at the Caching Across the Border event this weekend. And it was a well done event.
It was awesome. Lots and lots of people showed
Yeah,
up.
I'm sorry I couldn't make the trip on that one.
Yeah, would have been amazing to have you there, but also a little impractical for you for a day.
It's a little distant, yeah.
Well, the WSGA hosted the main event, and then the BGSA, no,
BCGA,
that's it. I'll figure it out eventually.
One of these letters.
Yeah,
Combine them all together.
All out there. Something will work.
The EIEIO, yes, go ahead.
Hosted a pre and post event, which I thought was quite nice.
Yeah, that was cool. It was definitely a day of events and caching.
And there was some caching involved in the meantime.
There you go. Almost like a bit of a mini cache machine, eh?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of. I didn't get to make it to the Cache Across the Border. We were in Tofino, and then all over the weekend we went from Tofino almost straight to Wannock. We went camping from one place to camping in another. So we were busy on the weekend, but I really wanted to go, but can't be everywhere all at once.
No. Priorities. But yeah, I mean, Tofino is beautiful. Great.
Take your word for it. I haven't been there. I'm going to have to go.
There you go. Put on your bucket list.
Yep.
Stop at Cathedral Park on your way.
Oh, do we need a series of events?
Perhaps.
Okay.
GSM times 2 is keeping us up to date on the fuel events for the outer space folk. The worldwide geocaching community is only 1 day behind pace now from what is necessary to help the aliens get the heck out of Dodge. So he's got his spreadsheet link there for folks who want to check that out. I'm not going to read it out because it would just be nonsense letters and characters. But if you're watching the podcast or if you're listening to the podcast, you can go head over to the YouTube version right near the tail end of it and pick up that link to the spreadsheet. And GSM times 2, thank you for doing all that data crunching for us. So we can see how we're doing.
So nice. Yes. And maybe Saturday, big geocaching day,
Yes.
we'll catch up and beyond.
I'll tell you, I'll do my part. And then if we don't make it, I did my part and it's everybody else's fault.
I'll take the blame.
Okay.
Maybe we don't want them to go. Maybe we want them to stay.
There's the glass half full approach. That's awesome.
There was something from Gearhead about the spelling of colorful.
Oh, yeah.
Because I published my colorful cache themed one today, and it's funny because I actually had struggled with which way I was gonna spell it, and I was like, who? Which audience am I making this for? Because if there's when I look at analytics on videos, there's like quite a lot of American watchers. So I was like, which way to do? But you know what? It's never too late. Nothing's ever too late. I could always change it back. I could just change the title. But.
Use multiple spellings in multiple places. Just keep switching back and forth.
Mm-hmm. I had to try to figure out like what are people searching for if they were gonna do that.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, right? Like I find the same thing with the videos. Obviously I'm proudly Canadian, but there's times where I'm like, well, if I want to get discovered by this market, which is 10 times the size of my home market, then you gotta sometimes just suck it up and give up a U.
Mm-hmm.
You could throw in 2 U's and do favorite color.
There you go.
Hey, I like U's.
We like U's too.
Okay. I like U's 3.
I was going to say, speaking of audience and reaching folks, Land Monkey, you're almost at 1,000 subscribers on your own channel.
Thank you. Yeah. We're holding a little contest to kind of try and see if we can hit that milestone. As anybody who is in the YouTube creating community knows, 1,000 subscribers is kind of a extremely important milestone for a number of reasons. Basically, at the end of the day, if you can do that and then some other things, you can get access to some tools in the back end that you don't normally have access to as a creator. So it's we're running a contest. So if people want to check that out, go check it out and subscribe, and we'll have a party, and we got lots of great prizes to give out when we clear 1,000.
I didn't see a lot of creative guesses.
No, I think you were the most creative guesser, Jim.
And that wasn't very creative. But...
Good stuff. All right. Well, what do you think, Chris? Yeah, colorful.
Colorful.
Yeah.
That's how they say it in Toronto, anyways.
Yeah, what do they know? Let's see. Where was it? Oh, Hawaiian Miley just said, I got back from Burbank, Washington, snagged the tag successfully.
Yeah, that's like a stone's throw from here.
I didn't know there was I thought Burbank was in California.
Well, there is one there too.
There's one in Washington too.
It's in the greater Tri-Cities area here. It's just,
given the amount of time I have spent in Washington State, I'm surprised I was not aware there's a Burbank.
There might be more than one. Who knows?
Yeah, actually looked at houses in Burbank when we were looking for houses. So,
all right. Well, I think the chat lackey has gone unconscious on us. Let's see the back of his head now.
Yes. All right then, folks. Thank you for joining us this evening, and until next week, get out and get caching in the Northwest.